Hey guys, veteran shout out brought to you by Operation HHA USA. Go check them out. This one's submitted by Brian Watson, and the veteran is Shane Wiggett. He served in the United States Navy. Says Shane served 4 years in the Navy. Now he keeps people warm in the winter and cool in the summer by being an HVAC tech. Deer Camp is always a good time with him around. Just saying thanks for your service, buddy.
Short and sweet, huh?
Yeah, I like those ones.
Awesome.
Doug can't read, so
it's hard for me to read.
Thanks for your service, man. And
thanks for your service, Shane, and thanks for spending that, Brian.
yeah, blue collar out there getting it. Hopefully he listens while he's doing that.
Hey, thanks for keeping us warm and cold when we need it.
Yeah, we're gonna need that. I thought he was gonna be like, he works for ThermaSeat, and I was like, wow, look how this came full circle.
Here we are.
Thanks for your service, man.
Thanks, Shane.
Hey guys, welcome to the Working Class Bowhunter Podcast. The podcast is presented by Elite Archery. We've been shooting Elite for a long time, proudly made in America. If that matters to you, it should. USA. We challenge you to take the shootability challenge with Elite. Go to a local dealer, find a dealer that carries Elite, and just give one a try. You might love it. We love them, and
that's all we ask.
We think you'd enjoy it too. So check out EliteArchery.com. Use code WCB there. Pretty easy. The podcast is also brought to you by Big Tine. And Big Tine, if you live in a state that offers supplemental feed, they have that, and they have food plot seeds. So something for everyone. Use code WCB2021 to save yourself some coin on some good stuff for your deer.
Cha-ching. You're going to like it.
Or whatever animals might eat.
I guarantee it.
I guarantee it. That's all. You're
going to like the way your buck looks. I guarantee it.
I see what you're doing.
Yeah, see like that?
The podcast is also brought to you by Leupold Optics. Very proud of that partnership. We love Leupold, based out of Beaverton, Oregon.
That's right.
Great people, great products, from rangefinders to binos to spotting scopes for us. We don't really use the rifle scopes because we're not into gun hunting as much, but they make great scopes too. Performance eyewear, they got it all. We think you'll like it. Leupold Optics, check them out. Tell them that we sent you. That helps out. The Midwest takeover is what we're calling it. Leupold is going to be more and more involved in the whitetail game as we work together. So give them a shot. Before you just go buy whatever is at your big box store, go out and play with the Leupold. Also, Spy Point cameras, from a Cell Link, which is a great entry way to get into some spy points, to the Link Micros. They really have a lineup for everybody at a good price.
Great price.
And you can be an insider club on there. You get different pricing on your plans and enter into giveaways and all sorts of good stuff like that. If you're going to buy a cell cam, just check them out. We think
and they have
like
a free plan for 100 pictures a month,
which is sweet during the summer.
Yep.
Sweet during the summer, or in a spot where you don't get a ton of traffic. Yeah. So, and you can you get better pricing with the Insiders Club, or you can kind of just price out what works for you, or do the free plan. Why not? Rogue Ridge e-bikes, the entry and exit strategy for a lot of people come in and out of the deer woods, and even probably the western woods, whatever they're hunting. And e-bikes are changing the way. No scent trail, silent, and it's fun.
Yep.
I think people just forget it's fun.
Hell, you can even ride over to your buddy's house and drink a few beers,
I mean, maybe you've done it.
No.
I'd never do that.
No.
The podcast also brought to you by Scent Crusher. Been working with Scent Crusher for a long time. I know, you can't always go scent free no matter what, but it helps to go in as scent free as possible. Always play the wind, but why not take every precaution that you can, especially if you're hunting mature whitetails? You're dumb not to try it.
Go the extra mile.
Yeah, go the extra mile. From the gear bag, the roller bag, everything. Love our Scent Crusher stuff. Check them out, scentcrusher.com. And then that all being said, with another one of our partners that kind of ties into all our other partners is Old Barn Taxidermy.
Yep.
You spend your hard-earned money on some of these products that we believe in, products that believe, or people behind the product that believe in us in order to partner with us. Don't go cheap on your taxidermy. Two things I don't cheap on: tattoos and taxidermy. It's pretty good.
Right.
Boom.
And that's it. Everything else, maybe I'm cheap out, but
I'm a cheap ass.
I'm over it. I pay for convenience anytime I can.
I'm shopping at Harbor Freight,
Well, I mean, I'm a Pittsburgh man, so what's up?
That's right.
And also Novix tree stands. We have a code for them, Working Class 21 for 15% off, and novixoutdoors.com. You can get into an American made tree stand, for really reasonably priced, and you can get into one for under bear stand with offset bracket, 9.2 pounds. It's pretty kick-ass.
That is kick-ass.
That's
Pretty
awesome.
kick-ass. And what's great about them, they are local to us. So that's even better. Made in USA. They're proud of that, and we're proud to be partnered with them.
That's
pretty
right.
awesome. Back in the tree stand game. So check them out. That's code
We're back.
Working Class 21. I always go WCB like in my head. Working Class 21 for 15% off. Tell them we sent you. Thank you for tuning into the podcast, and we hope you enjoy it. We got through them so you can get to the show. Thanks for being here.
I'm Chase Rolfson with Rubline Marketing.
This is Jeff Lindsay. This is Michael Pitt. Hey, everybody, it's John Dudley from Knock on TV. Hey, guys, this is Jared Scheffler from Whitetail Adrenaline.
Hi, I'm Taylor Drury from Drury Outdoors.
Hey, this is Nick Mutt from Bone Collector.
Hey, this is Melissa Buckman.
Working Class Bow Hunter. Working Class Bow Hunter. Working Class Bow Hunter Podcast.
Working Class Bow Hunter Podcast. Working Class Bow Hunter.
Working Class Bow Hunter. Working Class Bow Hunter. You're listening to the Working Class Bow Hunter. That's right. This is a podcast for Billy Joe Lunchbucket, the working man, just like me and you. My name's Travis T-Bone Turner from the Bone Collector. Thank you for tuning in.
Nobody pushes the envelope like Working Class Bow Hunter.
It's really, really not that good. Working Class. Working Class.
Welcome to the podcast. It's episode 465. In studio, Kasey Morgan.
Good to be here.
Thanks for being here again. Third time on the podcast.
That's right.
And Greg, I probably mess up your last name every time. Did I mess it up last time when I introduced you?
You're 2 for 2.
Of messing it up?
Oh, yeah.
Sick. Glesinger.
Oh, yeah.
Glesinger.
You just didn't correct him?
Sick.
No, I'm just going to let him hang himself.
Oh, all right.
Hey, at least I didn't fall asleep on your ass. We're going back to that, Doug.
Tough break.
Here we go again. Here we go again.
Say it. Your last name?
Glesinger.
Glesinger.
It's the
I had
G
that.
and J. I mess it up.
Hey, it's all good.
I wouldn't have done that.
You probably hear it every way
All
possible.
the time,
don't you?
yeah.
Yep.
Yours
Glesinger is quite common.
But yours looks more complicated. Mine looks really simple, but it's hard to like get through. So I lived that with you a little bit.
It's no biggie.
All good. Thanks for
All
being
good.
here anyway.
Thanks for the invite. All I know is I got a sticker.
You guys got those
two
studio
stickers.
badges,
I
man.
know. Studio experience.
Not
You know
everyone
what you
gets
should
those.
do is you need to make these in the patches with Velcro
I know we got to find a good patch place
so that you can wear them and put them on stuff.
I know we got to find a good patch place.
Would
We
you
need
put
to-
them on your camo hunting?
That or a little patch you can sew on your hat.
Or even iron
NASCAR this up, man. Let's go.
on, iron on patch.
No, someone get us a good patch place. We need good patch places, good ones,
Yeah.
affordable and easy to work with.
Send Working Class Bow Hunter IG page a patch company.
Yeah, we need someone easy to
Please.
work with,
ASAP.
somewhere where we can
ASAP.
upload our own imagery and see
you
how
go.
it's going to look.
There you go.
We need simple. There's a simple thing out there, just haven't found it yet.
Yeah. Somebody knows us listening to this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
DM.
This-
Working Class.
This episode I'm pretty excited for because it's something that gets brought up a lot in podcasts, but never gets a chance to be 100% focused on. And that topic is blood trailing. And then add into that dogs and blood trailing. And we learned the first time we podcasted with you guys in Wisconsin
Back in March.
back in March that you are in fact
Kasey, not me.
Kasey. I'm looking at Kasey
Yeah.
for people listening on audio only.
Episode 441, Doug falls asleep.
Don't
Yeah.
fall asleep on that one.
Just in case anybody didn't know. 441.
Sleep-
So let's say it one more time, Doug. 441. Doug falls asleep.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Greg.
Yeah, I guarantee he'll never forget that episode number.
I know I'm not.
Thanks, guys.
We're talking blood trailing with Kasey.
Yeah.
Kasey's the man. You're the blood trail guy. You're the expert, the man of the hour.
I don't know if you'll ever be an expert on it, but
Well, more than us.
the more we talk about it, the more we're going to learn about
Okay,
it. So-
you're the expert in this room right now. Can we say that?
The Blood Master.
All right, let's talk first. Give an introduction on why we're calling you the expert. And now you didn't call yourself the expert, to be clear. We called you that. But why are we calling you that?
Probably. Well, so I owned a business called Bloodhound Deer Trackers. It was designed to go out and help hunters recover their deer by use of tracking dogs. That was probably 2010, I want to say. I started doing it seriously. We toyed with it a bunch when we were growing up, trying to figure out a way, just because when you're young, you constantly, have issues recovering deer. Just a part of growing up as a bow hunter.
Yep.
So I think that's how it kind of stemmed that, and how we found ourselves here is we talked about that in the first podcast when we were out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell them what kind of dog you had, Kasey.
At that, when I first started doing it, I had a bloodhound, an American bloodhound, and I've since changed that over to a little smaller breed of dog, and by a little smaller, I mean completely different. So
by like 80 pounds.
Yeah. So I've gone a little smaller just because of transporting, and just I think I can get just about the same efficiency out of this dog that I did in about 1/100th of the size. So
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the good thing about a bloodhound is, I think a lot of people, when you think about a tracking dog, you think about that, right? Because there's the Deep South video of a bloodhound tracking a human being across somewhere. So they're like, okay,
off a
that's
chain gang.
Off a chain gang.
Oh, brother, where art thou type shit.
Yeah, exactly.
They heard the Blake Shelton songs.
Old Red, baby.
Exactly.
Great reference, Doug. You're really making up for that whole falling asleep thing.
He's picking up his pace.
Hey, look at me go.
Exactly. So, I mean, that was my first step. And, I mean, you can't argue with the nose of a bloodhound. It is one of the best in the hound world. But since just learned a lot about getting drugged through the woods by a 120-pound dog in the middle of the night, just gets old after a while. So try to figure out a little different solution to the problem. But
little different.
Yeah,
you did there.
Exactly.
Nice.
So explain the dog that you have now and how the process, because this is really quite phenomenal for those who are not in this circle, which is a very small circle to begin with.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's back up a little bit. So the reason why Greg and I know each other is because of this deer tracking business. I was doing a seminar at DeerFest in West Bend, Wisconsin on game recovery.
7 years ago.
Yeah,
8 years ago.
8 years ago. And shot selection and how to handle just specific wounds and things like that. And Greg's son talked him into going to the seminar because he thought the dogs were cool and all that. So that's how Greg and I talked after that seminar was over, and that's how we kind of met and how
no kidding.
This all came to pass.
That's awesome.
That's where it all
Damn
began.
dog.
Yeah.
Old Red.
Yeah, exactly.
In this case, Booner was his name.
Yeah, yep. So if you look into game recovery or blood tracking, you realize there's a book out there, and it's pretty much like the book that you can read as far as training game recovery dogs. And it's written by a guy named John Giannini, and he is a breeder for what is called a European tracking teckle or a wire hair dachshund. Now, these dogs don't look like your run-of-the-mill wiener dog that you see, you know. So they're a little... Exactly. So they're a little more lean and athletic looking, and they're bred initially for badgers, foxes, denned animals. So they're a hunting dog breed. It's just that we've figured out over the years that it's nice to have a dog that's not pulling your arms off, that tracks at a nice slow pace, and you can kind of keep up with it. And they just work really nice for what you're trying to do with them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's interesting. Because like you said, I think big hound.
Yes.
All the time. So anything else, being completely ignorant to this whole deal, I'm like, that's it?
Yeah.
That's what you're using?
Yep, I hear that.
But that makes sense.
100%. And I think that I'm interested to see, because I have not used this dog to track for anybody else yet. So I'm interested to see what the look of the hunters that...
When you pull up.
Yeah, like...
Right, because they're expecting a hound.
Little wiener dog comes rolling out of the...
I mean, literally, it will fit in your backpack.
It will.
That's kind of awesome, though.
Yeah. It's easy to get it.
Just take them with you hunting initially if you're feeling that cocky.
Oh, I've done it several times already for training purposes. Yeah. Yep.
So did you train this dog yourself, or did you like send him off and have him trained?
No, I've trained it myself. I trained the first dog, Boomer, and another female myself. I started off with a lot of beagles and rabbit hunting when I was little, and we started with that, and we just had a beagle that was gun shy, to be perfectly honest. And if anyone's in the hound world, a dog that's gun shy is basically worth a shit, But it was important to me, so I started, messing with that dog on game recovery, because you don't have to shoot over a game recovery dog.
Right.
He could be gun shy.
You just got to use his nose.
Exactly. So that was the plan, and kind of how it all originated. But just through learning and reading books and talking to other guys that are into it, men and women across the United States, just kind of learned the ins and outs of how to train the dog, and that's where I'm at now.
Let me interrupt. Kasey's being extremely humble right now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to help you out on this, Kurt.
Yeah, thank you.
How many tracks did you do right before we met up to that point of time with you and Booner? What was the number?
Yeah, the last year that we did it, we did 88 tracks. We covered 72 of those 88 tracks.
Damn, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that was a good year.
Holy crap.
And that's a lot of tracks. I mean, it's that dog was running almost nightly.
That's a ton of experience right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine some of the blood, like different blood and scenarios and stories you've heard about a blood trail, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm
Sorry, Eric, I cut you off a
No,
little
you're
bit.
good.
No, I'm on quite a few pages and chat rooms and stuff like that with other game recovery dog owners. Mm-hmm. And literally daily, I hear of another situation that, you know, where there's blood everywhere and the deer was not recovered, and all of a sudden some guy gets a picture of it later on. So it's kind of nice to just listen to what everyone has to say and learn from it all, because there's each situation so
That's
dynamic.
what makes blood trailing so interesting.
Yeah.
Now, can I ask, and you can tell me just straight up, like, hey, listen, that's something I've learned, and I don't want everyone to know my secret. Like, that's completely fine. And I know how to train a dog is probably a whole another 100 podcasts in itself.
Sure.
But like on a basic
That's what I was going to
entry
ask,
level,
like, break it down a little bit.
yeah, it's like, how do you even start?
It's that literally is a podcast conversation in itself. But
Right.
what I would say to anyone who's getting going is start with basic things at first with your dog. Sit, stay, come. Basic,
commands
for obedience training. And once that's done, you start with a liver or a hide drag to encourage that chase drive that's in every dog. Basically, you could drag it in front of a cat and something will chase something that's moving.
Right.
And then from there you progress to a liver drag. And I use deer liver to try to get that blood scent. The liver's an extremely scent full organ. And then at the end, you have a little bit to cut off and you treat the dog. And that's the start. Then this is where you're going to find dog owners and game recovery guys across the nation fist fighting.
Okay.
From here, there's a million different ways you can proceed. My biggest thing is I try to proceed by having that dog tracking wounded deer. Mm-hmm. Now, Greg and I are pretty fortunate that we can put ourselves in situations quite often throughout the year that we can get the dog on. Now, not everyone has that kind of time or all that stuff, but in my opinion, and you'll talk to anyone, like if you have a pheasant dog, how does that dog stay sharp? By hunting pheasants.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's where I kind of switched to purely just straight game recovery on getting the dog on either what I call a gimme track, where Greg or I will shoot a deer and we'll just drop the dog on it, even if it's
like a double long, 40 yard
even
run
if you
out
smoke.
and
We
die
know we saw him go down. We still go get the dog.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah.
So that dog's with you. If you guys are hunting, that dog's with you.
For now, yeah, that's the plan moving forward. Yeah.
Right.
Now, again, with the bloodhound, that would have been extremely difficult. It's a huge dog. You can't have the dog run,
loud and everything.
So
he loud, sheds. He's huge.
Drools.
He drools. He's a 6-year-old kid that has an appetite that never stops, and he's a mess.
And can bark.
He's a mess.
Oh my god, is he a mess? But the new one is like a house dog.
What's the new one's name?
Frankie. It's a female, and we gave it the name because of ballpark Frank, like a wiener.
Oh yeah,
There you go.
Greg and I
I like it.
We're both pretty big baseball fans. If you can't tell by the name of the deer, that
yeah.
So that's where the name came from. But
So where you said the argument, this is where a lot of guys start to fist fight, is like throwing them right on the live tracking deal, or on a real life game trail or track job, I guess. What do other guys suggest?
So from there, you can gather deer blood. Like, I don't really agree. People say you can get blood from a cow or from anything, any roadkill or anything, and lay that down, because there's a certain amount of iron content in blood that people tend to think that the scent is very similar from one blood type to another.
So they're saying blood is blood.
Yeah, they are. And there's some truth to that. My philosophy on it is that if you're training the dog to track deer, why don't you use deer blood or deer parts or all the stuff? So what they will do is gather blood and they'll lay training lines. And I do that too, to be honest, for practice. Mm-hmm. But the problem with laying a training line is that inevitably you walk that line to lay it down. So you dropped whatever scent that you have on you, which is for certain some, And when you went to lay that line, so that dog is smelling you the entire tracking line.
Yeah, smelling
And it knows
blood.
you so well. And
You can put rubber boots on, as we know. We talk about it all the time about scent control as deer hunters. No matter how much you do, you still smell.
yeah.
Yep.
So what I have found is that every dog I've ever owned that I've laid these practice lines for has run them at like world record speed. They're just like, and they find them. Even if it takes me 2.5 hours to lay a 2-mile track, they'll run it and get to the end, and I'm just like, oh,
20 minutes.
Yeah.
it's just not really that great use of time,
That
in
makes a
my
lot of sense
opinion.
to me. The way you're explaining it, that seems
Logical,
pretty obvious.
right?
Like,
Logical.
yeah.
It's all good work for the dog. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying, because anytime you get the dog out and get it working, it's good for it.
It's good.
It's
Yeah,
just
right.
not
the most effective.
exactly.
That makes
But
sense.
also, you can't do that all year long. The way you do it is tracking deer. So there's got to be a regimen you do in the summer, correct?
There is, but fortunately for me, and I talk about this a lot, is I have friends in the that have crop damage tags, and a couple guys in the high fence world that will allow me to get deer parts and things like that and practice down that avenue.
That's awesome.
So I am fortunate in a lot of different ways that way, but I still think that ultimately the dog needs to run live tracks if it's
Yeah.
going to find wounded
Now,
deer.
I'm ignorant enough to this whole process that I don't really know how to conversate with you. So, but I'm just going to dive in somewhere, and you tell me. Let me get to something else before we get to that. So, what if there's no blood on a deer, and your dog has experience? Is it still trackable if there's no blood?
Yeah, 100%. So what the dog, okay, if you ever wondered how a pack of wolves or coyotes can track down and kill a sick or an injured white-tailed deer, why do they target that specific deer? So a wounded deer secretes a different type of scent through their interdigital glands, and that's just simply because they're stressed. So when you're in a food plot, and let's say there's 15 to 20 deer in that food plot, and you shoot your bow off, immediately all those deer that stick their feet in the ground and run off are stressed out. You just stress them out. So that's the hardest part of the track. The first part, when there's 4 or 5 deer around and you shoot your bow off, now how do we distinguish what line continues? The one that is hit will continue to give off that scent down the line, and the ones that aren't will not. So that's always the hardest part, is getting off the line with the thing. So interdigitally, the deer smell different when they're wounded than when they're alive and healthy.
Interesting.
Yes.
That's crazy.
I didn't know that.
We're going to learn a lot on this podcast, I believe.
Yeah, it's
about
it's
dogs.
like deeper shit, because it's like you don't think about that stuff because you don't have to. Really,
I have 2 dogs, and they just lay on the couch.
Yeah. So they
That's
do,
really interesting.
Yeah. So like I said, you're training your dog to do the same thing a coyote can do, which is track down a sick or an injured deer and recover.
Is that something that you can train, or is that something that comes with them kind of just following blood with experience?
So
does that question make sense?
Yeah. So again, there will be a lot of arguments on this, because there's people out there that have manufactured tracking shoes where you can put the hooves of a deer into those shoes and walk a line. And the idea is that will be an interdigital scent line that you're laying. My theory is exactly what you said, which is I don't think so. I think that the more the dog tracks and the more it experiences success along blood and interdigital scent combined, they just start to correlate those two things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But you have to have them, and they have to be experienced, and they have to run a lot of tracks.
So really what I'm getting into this, if I'm a guy that gets a dog and wants to train a blood trailing dog, assuming legal where I live and all that, the best thing for me to do, if I don't have access to like the opportunity, and like you guys are deep in the hunting community, there's more resources, like everything in your guys' life is surrounded by basically deer tracking.
Yes.
But if a guy is like an average dude that has just regular bow hunting friends, basically put a note out to your buddies, hey, when you kill a deer and you're going to track it, let me bring my dog, whether you watched it fall or not.
That's right.
That's probably the best thing to
100%.
do.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Whether it's a doe, small deer, big buck, doesn't matter.
Even if it goes 20 yards and you watch it fall, but get it on that trail.
Get out, and don't lay any scent. Let the dog do.
I mean,
its
it's
deal.
kind of like what Greg said in this last podcast. It's homework.
It
That
is.
dog's doing homework. I mean, he's getting out there and he's doing it. He's getting out there and doing what he needs to do.
And I will tell you this, is if you've never had the opportunity to watch a dog work, it will blow your mind.
I never have.
It is so
either.
fascinating to see these animals do what they do. It's hard to put in words the skill that they have.
I've never seen a dog track blood, but I have a blue heeler, and I watched him work cows one day. Never trained him, never did anything. We just went out to a buddy's farm, and he's moving those cows where he wants them. I'm like, I could have sat there and drank all night watching him just work these cows. It was amazing.
Yeah, my beagle, when it finds a rabbit trail, holy shit.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I think it's dying.
Yeah.
They
Like
freak
genetic.
shit. Yeah, they just freak out.
So you need to get that strong genes going, and then you had to do less training.
Yeah, well, that's why I have the dog that I have now. He's straight off the line. I mean, it's a European import, and its parents are one of the best. I can
No kidding.
pull up the pedigree, and yeah,
Took you 3 years on the list? Is that right?
3 years on a list that I eventually didn't get. So it was actually 6 years. I was 3 years on one list that the person got out of breeding dogs after the 3 years, so I never got one, and then another 3 years on this list.
Wow.
It was hilarious. So last September, we're in Colorado.
Yeah,
We're in Colorado, and also we're getting settled to go to bed. We're middle of elk season, going at it hard and tired. I'm getting settled for bed, and all of a sudden he jumps out of bed like something went bad at home.
Yeah.
I could see his face.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not good. And he grabbed his phone and off he went out of the house. I don't know where he went, but he was gone. And he was gone for, 15, 20 minutes. He comes back and he is on cloud 9. So I was stressed that something happened at home because he was so in tune.
Frantic a little bit.
Frantic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on? He goes, dude, I think I just got the dog that I've been waiting for 3 or 4 years. I'm like, what? And he told me the whole story. And so
That's funny that you didn't already know about it. Something you're waiting on. You're just like, you probably didn't want to jinx yourself by telling people about it. Huh?
That's like drawing a Yukon moose tag.
yeah,
it is.
It's hilarious.
They're hard to get a hold of, especially the good ones.
Yeah.
I was
That's
cool,
cool,
to see
man.
what the price tag was on that dog. You don't have to
Per
say.
inch, it's really bad.
Per weight.
For a dog, it's not
pound.
terrible, but yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah,
But the ROI on this one is going to be a hell of a lot more because you don't have to feed them about a tenth of the amount.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that was tiring with my bloodhound. I mean, great dog. I mean, probably have to place some blame on where I am today to that dog, or credit. I should
100%.
say.
Credit. Yeah.
100%, yeah.
So
How many total tracks did Booner do?
we did
his life?
We did 640 tracks, roughly, plus or minus, and we were about 78 to 85% recovery rate.
It's pretty impressive.
The thing about that I got better at was picking what tracks to go on and things like that.
What, can you break that down a little bit?
So let me jump in, Kurt. So Kasey, so to help the listeners, let's break down the do's and don'ts of when you get the phone call of what you're looking for and why, and also the key number one is you got to be honest.
Yeah.
Thank God you're here.
And I'm sure you're going to ask questions as soon as they call you.
Oh,
Yeah, I can break it down. And I used to have a piece of paper that I would go through, walk through questions.
Like a checklist type deal.
And I'd hit all those checks.
You had to qualify.
Yeah, so like
Exactly.
immediately when someone calls you, they immediately are super excited and they have a lot of wants. They want to go track the deer. They want to go looking for it. They want to get down immediately. Normally, when you get called as a tracker, unfortunately, but just a part of the business is that they've already looked for the deer and they have been unable to recover it. In an ideal situation, they would not do that. The minute you have a feeling, because you kind of know when you drill a deer, like when you drill them and they burn off and just pile up, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
If anything other than that happens, you got to sit down and say, all right, what was just a little bit amiss in that situation? Mm-hmm. And that's when I say, the minute you have that feeling, if you could get a hold of a guy, or maybe you know someone that has a dog, or it goes on, call it 30, 40 tracks a year, or your best buddy, and just give them a shout and start talking through the situations. Mm-hmm. The checklist that I always went through was, how far was the shot? How high were you in the stand? Were you in a ground blind? Was the deer quartering away broadside, or facing butt to you? However you want to break that down. And then, what did you do after the shot? What were the mannerisms or body language of the deer after the shot? Was the tail flickering? Was that? And we could sit there and break down all of those things and how to treat each individual thing. But ultimately, as a hunter, that was what I would ask people before I would go out and track. And usually,
is that more important one? Is that what did you do after?
The thing is, it is important. If you could, people would have saved themselves so many deer by not getting down and tracking them. I mean, it's just the way it is. And that's why in the previous podcast, Greg and I talked about how if we don't see the deer fall and its tongue's not hanging out in front of us, we don't go track the deer.
Right.
We just stop. We get out of there. We sit at the truck. We think about it. We replay it in our mind or replay it via video. And then we say, okay, this is a deer. We can go in and find this deer and recover it. Or we need to pull out and wait till tomorrow.
I think the biggest thing is when people call Kasey is the emotions are high.
Yep.
And they usually are pro finding the deer, less about being honest. Because the minute he drops his dog, he'll know within 5 minutes this guy's full of shit or not.
Yeah.
Or if he just came here on
or
a
thinks it was something else,
or
that it wasn't.
bucket of lies, right, to get him there.
Right.
Which only hurts the situation.
Right. Yeah.
So put your honest pride in the back seat and tell the guy as much as you can straight up.
You're the doctor for the recovery at this point.
100%.
So it's like you got to tell the doctor what's wrong.
No smoke screen.
Yeah.
Because then it's harder to figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hey, listen, you can go and tell your buddies whatever, but like I don't have any vested interest in whether or not you really get the deer back or not. I just want to know where you hit the deer for real. You know, because if I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times. I drilled it, and it was right behind the shoulder. I'm like, well, why are we talking?
Yeah, why are you calling me?
Why are you calling me?
This is going to be the easiest money I've ever made. Perfect. I'll be there in 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Okay. This is how much it'll be. A C in 10. Yeah. Okay. That's a good point, man.
That's a great point.
Hey, shout out to those guys.
I'm assuming most of the time they already tried finding the deer, right?
Usually, yeah. I mean, because
do you see a lot of lies about like the guys that went and looked for it, and they're like, I didn't go look for it yet.
Oh, I only went over the ridge.
Yeah, right. And then it comes out over time.
They're stomping everywhere.
I think over the last few years, a lot more of it, just because they've started to learn like that there's other trackers around and like what you can and cannot tell these guys.
Right.
And so there's some more of that, but I also think the emotions are running so high a lot of times that they just don't know.
Right.
Which would be better to say as well. Like, hey man, I really don't know. I think this, but it was happened so fast. I have a hard time, you know?
Yeah.
So be honest about it.
Yeah. If you don't
That's the
know,
biggest thing.
It's also like a very emotionally controlled situations and vibes, and you're dealing with people at weird spots, especially like, you know, like we talked about in the previous podcast, how your brain does weird things in the 100%. Moment, and you think things went a certain way, but then you check in with him and it's like, well, no, this is what happened, or whatever it may be. So you're automatically dealing with just kind of the people not thinking clearly anyway.
That's right.
You know,
Well, when you come back to us as humans, we all have a great amount of pride. And it's very hard to look yourself and other people and say, man, I really had a shit shot.
Yeah, you don't like defeat.
You never really feel very many people be honest about it.
You don't want to admit it.
No. And if you notice, the people in front of TV lenses, cameras, we have to be honest. We can't lie.
yeah, because it's right
Everyone's
there.
It's right there.
Yeah.
So
That's black and white.
It's black and white. If we make a bad shot, we're going to say, hey, that's on me. It was a bad shot. And it's over. You know, we all do it. If you haven't done it, if you're a bow hunter, wait, it's going to happen at some point.
The best thing, if you admit it, you feel a hell of a lot better afterwards.
You do.
Well, that's when you get real advice.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, all these times that he's gone on tracks, he'll call me and he'll go, man, that was a freaking shit show. You know, and it's usually because someone wasn't honest.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and it makes his job harder, knowing what he's trying to do. So that's the number one thing I tell anybody who calls in is just swallow your pride and be straight up honest so he knows what he's going into.
Well, that also makes it even more impressive, the success numbers, the victories versus the L's, if you will. You can't really even consider them that, but it's like the amount of recoveries versus non-recoveries, even dealing with all this stuff that you're talking about. I mean, if you had to, maybe you can't even do this. What percentage? See, that's why I'm asking these questions. Like, it's things I think you can categorize it, but you might not be able to. What percentage of recoveries that you go on do you think that people aren't being honest with you?
Purposely or not purposely, as far as the honesty thing goes, I would say that 75 to 80% of the time they don't have a great idea of what they're talking about as far as where they either hit the deer or what the deer looked like after, or where the deer was standing when they shot it. gun, that's the biggest thing. With a gun, nobody ever knows where that deer was when they shot. It's a far shot. You can't landmark it.
Yeah,
and undoubtedly, it was standing over here, and they think it was over there. And there's a lot of that.
I didn't even think about that. I'm just thinking when you're...
Hey, guys, we interrupt this podcast to bring you an advertisement. But wait, just listen, please.
We're sorry.
I know we hate commercials.
We hate them.
Hey, listen.
Just listen. You're here anyway.
This isn't a commercial. It's a recommendation.
It's a PSA.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
We care about your hearing.
That's right.
We do. We work blue-collar jobs, except for Doug. Hey, Doug.
I still care about your hearing, though.
We're going to use Eric as the poster boy for this segment real quick.
Let's do it.
Because Eric works in a race car shop, really. That's the best way to explain it. And you're using, impact tools to grinding to welding to whatever. Shit that's
CNC machines running all day long.
not great for your hearing.
No, it's bad.
And listen, it's easy to not give a shit because I don't give a shit really a lot. But now I'm starting to care now that I have like a daughter with a really small voice.
Right.
And my wife has a really small voice. I'm always like, what?
What?
Huh?
What?
The point of this, ISOtunes Sport is now partnered with us, which we are thankful for, because if you're at work and you have to wear hearing protection, ISOtunes has you covered there, and Bluetooth capable. So you can listen to your podcast while at work while protecting your hearing. I've been using mine on the mower because I have a lot of grass to mow, and it's been amazing. I used it the other day while putting it in big time plots on the tractor.
Yep.
I was using the ISOtunes Sport Defy.
The earmuffs, right?
Yep, the earmuffs.
Yep.
Completely protect your hearing. You can hear your music good. It's not overpowering. It's not blowing out your eardrums through the music. And you can almost still hear, you can hear the machinery run. So it's like protecting your hearing. You still hear machinery. So you kind of have a sense of your surroundings, and you can clearly hear music.
Right. And it's nice, too, with the earmuffs. That's what I was using last night to cut down a tree with a chainsaw. So, as soon as that chainsaw revs up, it quiets the noise. Because I didn't have any music playing, so it quiets the noise. And then as soon as you let off, you can almost hear better. It amplifies the noise around you.
And you can control all that. There's buttons on the side.
Yep.
You can just reach up and control, basically to your liking.
So you can still hear people talk if you don't have any background noise going.
Yeah, it's great.
It's awesome.
Or, what you can do is you can act like you have music on and listen to people talk shit about you while you have them on.
That's right.
So
That's right.
There's that too. ISOtuneSport.com. That's code... What did I say? I forget. My code's WCB10. Save yourself some money. Check them out. We're really proud to have them as a partner. Back to the show.
Tracking deer, we're bow hunting.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
We're just bow hunting.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say 75 to 80% that the information that you receive via phone call prior to the track is not accurate. I wouldn't call it lying. I just say that it's just not spot on.
Their memory is skewed because of the moment.
Yeah, a lot of that.
What percentage of tracks that you go on, what would the shot be? What's the number one shot, or bad shot or shot placement that you get the call on?
The number one track I would say that you go on that we most often recover would be paunch, guts, or intestines. Mm-hmm. That's a one where it's a huge area on the whitetail, and if you miss back a little bit, that's right where you are. Mm-hmm. You got liver back there, but I just see a lot of those calls, and it's if treated the right way, it's a very easy recovery for the dog.
So let's talk about that, Kasey. Explain what that means when you say treated the right way, so listeners understand what that means.
Yeah, so obviously the number one thing is to not push that deer before it expires. Mm-hmm. If you push the deer before it expires, you can bet on not recovering it.
So let's backtrack. So the minute you find your arrow, you're going to see some bile.
Yeah.
It's going to be green, most likely.
Yeah, it's going to smell.
It's going to smell. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, you stop there and you go to the truck.
Yes.
You're done.
Even if you feel like it's one lung or liver gut or something like that on the angle of the deer.
Is that why you use a liver for the training purposes? Because most of the time, if you double lung or do a hard shot, that deer most likely is going to be dead.
Yeah. Well, I've got a story that will cover that story here in a second.
So yes and no. So number one, when you're dealing with a puppy for the training purpose, you want something that smells really potent because they get super excited over this. It's like throwing a steak on the floor.
Right. I'm going to eat it.
Yeah. Dogs just, they're attracted to that, so that's why. But also, yes, anything you do as far as training wise, you want to train in the zone you're going to be in.
Sure.
That's why I didn't quite understand the roadkill blood from a raccoon or something being used for training. I was like, I wouldn't train them for a math test studying geography. Exactly.
Yeah, it's like blood with like half motor oil in it from the Chevy Cavalier that ran it over and took out its oil pan.
Right.
It goes back to if it's a liverhead, it's going to be really dark and red.
Yes.
A very deep red.
Yep.
And if you see that, it's, 18 to 24 to 26 hours.
Yes.
So, if you see that on your arrow, it's don't even waste your time.
Right.
Yep.
Just hold exit. Exit right now.
And what Greg is saying, that's the number one issue is tracking too soon. Number one. Worst thing you can do, and results
people get excited.
Well, what happens is, more often than not, people are going to push the deer. Mm-hmm. When you push that deer, more often than not, he's going to move off the property that individual has permission to hunt.
Right.
So now we're compounding the problem by pushing the deer. Now we've got to go through, neighbors, phone calls or stops him from going because it's 10:30, 11 o'clock, midnight, and you can't call your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you really want to exit left because there's more issues to this.
And that's the issue I had a couple years ago when I lost that deer. I called Doug, and it was like 2 a.m. because I couldn't sleep. I'm like, hey, let's go track this deer. It's been 5-6 hours. He's got to be dead. He wasn't.
It wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, that's
where he went.
Yeah, liver hit. How long?
18, 24, 26, right, Case?
Yeah, because even if you think it's 8 to 12, you just err on the side of caution every time.
It's a fatal hit. They're dead.
Yeah.
You just got to give them time. But if you push them, they might bed 3, 4, 5, 6 times.
Yep.
Yeah.
I bumped up liver shot deer, shoot them at 7 in the morning and bump them up at 4 in the afternoon. You're better off if you've got a day, give them a day.
That's a great
24
tip.
hours.
That's a great tip right there.
And it's better tracking in daylight than at night because if you're tracking in the night and you and you bump a deer, you can't identify the deer you bumped.
Yeah, you're just hearing noise.
You're hearing noise. So now you're questioning yourself, is that him or is it not? Do I keep going or what happened? So we always, prime example was the one I shot in the heart this past fall. I mean, it's all on video. I mean, we both said he was dead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
41-ish yards, 42, and smoked him in the heart. Onyx told us how far it was?
I don't know. It was just shy of a mile.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, shit.
Over a mile.
Damn.
And confirmed heart shot.
How?
You tell me.
If you lower nick the bottom part of the heart where you're not catching, the arterial stuff in there, you can nick the bottom of that heart and they can go. I mean,
yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
The biggest. Go ahead.
So to finish that up, I had the pleasure of talking to Tracker John on the same scenario. Mm-hmm. And I said, what's your number one misconception? He said, a heart shot deer. And I said, why? He said, because they can die in 100 and they can die in 1.5 miles.
Yeah.
He goes, it's a muscle. Depending on where you hit that muscle, depends on, and he goes, the will to live is second to none.
Right. It makes sense when you break it down like that.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't have
my
thought
first experience hitting we smoked him. I thought it was over, 50 yards and in. And we just kept going. And finally, we backed out and we gave him, was it 8 hours, 9 hours?
Yep.
8-9 hours. Went back in.
On a hard shot.
Do you think he died right away, like after he got done moving?
I wish I knew.
Yeah,
I wish I knew.
I would guess not, because it seemed like there were spots where he slowed and then stopped and then crossed again. Yeah. So
like grabbed composure and then kept moving or something like that.
Well, but it wasn't long, I bet.
No, but the thing was we went probably 200 yards on the track, maybe 250.
Yeah,
and I'm like, this is not good. And when we were up on a ridge and we're glassing, it was myself and Derek, my son, and Kasey, and I'm like, guys, we smoked this thing. If he's not here,
it's not good.
I don't know where he is. So all I know is us doing this is not good.
Right. Something's weird.
Something's weird. We just need to back out and come out 8-9 hours later. And so we shot him first thing in the morning, and we went in like 4:30 or 5:30 in the afternoon.
It had to be at least.
It's right before dark.
It was.
Right before dark. And we shot him first thing in the morning. So I think these things were always going to teach us new lessons. And I think, another one, Taylor Drury hit one in the heart last year.
It's the exact same shot.
Same shot, same everything. And they had to call the dogs, and they looked for I don't know how long before they found it. Same story.
Really?
Yes.
That's so crazy. I honestly, I'm a double lung guy. We've talked about this before, and that's just the safest bet. I want to tell a really quick side story. I probably told on the podcast. My dad's last buck, last October, shot a real big 168 pointer he hit it like the angle was real steep, hit it high, and like buried in the outside shoulder. So there was no exit hole, but the wound was up high, and it was in this willow thicket near this creek. And we waited. I worked late on a rare time, so by the time I got out there, it was already like 1 a.m. And he shot it early in the afternoon in a willow thicket on like a 90-degree day. So we're kind of worried about the meat, whatever. Ended up being fine, thank God. But we go in and track it, and as we're looking for where the trail was, and it was hard to tell because it's all willows. It's like a tunnel in there, and he shot it in a certain pocket. I think it was bed in the willows, got up to move to bed down again, and he caught it in between, like in a wind shift. And so no blood, and we're looking. Well, there's beavers in the water freaking out, and I don't have no experience around any beavers, and they were slapping their tails, and I'm hearing slap, and I'm like, Dad, your buck's in the creek. So I run over, hop the little, like, there's like a little fence thing there at the creek, and I'm like looking with my headlamp, and I'm just see water rippling. I'm like, he's in the creek. There's no buck in the creek. But the way it sounded to me, I could just picture like a buck that is laying in the creek and can't get up, like thrashing in the water.
Makes sense.
Kurt's out there swimming in the creek.
Makes sense.
And my dad's like, Kurt, no, it's beavers. It's got to be beavers. And then we kept hearing it, and I'm like, I don't know. So I hopped the fence like probably 3 times that night. And we ended up finding the deer. It was deader than a doornail, like right after the shot. But
Sure.
That's just funny side story. I heard that, and I'm like, he's in the creek, freaking out.
He's in the creek.
Got all cut up by a fence, so that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, like what happens to these deer when they're pushed is immediately after the shot, it's instant adrenaline for them. It's flight mode, right? They take off and they run and they get out of there like, oh, something's wrong. And then they stop and they realize that they're hurt, and then the adrenaline starts wearing off. And at that point, the pain is starting to be real. So their odds of moving very far after that are not high. But if you go in there and run up their rear end again, you're just starting the process all over again.
Liver or gut shot deer is going to take off and go. I mean, if you bump them 2 or 3 times, it just makes it that much harder to walk up on.
And that's a great way to break it down. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize that. Like, when you bump that deer, it starts that process all over. That adrenaline kicks in, and they're just going to do that again and again.
Instinctive
and again.
all of a sudden.
Yeah. The rule of thumb that we always watch, we're lucky enough to film everything we do, is a dead deer is truly going to die without question, 150 yards. Am I wrong, Kasey?
No, yeah, or break it down into time.
Yes,
150 yards or a few seconds.
Yes.
That they're not on their feet for minutes.
If you smoke them in the double long or heart shot, if you truly 10-ring them, I've never seen a whitetail that we've smoked go more than 150. Usually 85 to 125 is the norm. So if you're out there and you're tracking and it's past 150, 175, 200, timeout.
Get the heck out of there.
Yes.
Yeah. Good advice.
He's not dead.
So we'll call it the 85 to 150 range.
Yeah.
80
sure.
155 rule.
Sure.
85 to 150 rule.
Sure. I mean, think of how long can you sit there and hold your breath? Not very long, especially if you didn't
especially if you're running.
Yeah,
take off running. You have no oxygen. You're freaking toast fast.
Hell, if I'm double long, I'm just gonna lay there. I ain't running.
Dude, you miss me. I'm still gonna lay down.
You got me.
I'm done.
I give up.
What's the expiration period that you found to be the most common for like a gut hit deer?
My rule is to always give that deer 24 hours.
24 hours
before I'll track. I always say 24 hours. I want to give him 24 hours because I don't want to track live deer. I've done it. I've been on that wild goose chase. It's not generally fun. With my bloodhound, it was a lot. There were some very interesting stories you can get into over a live deer and a dog that size. Now, for sure, I probably wouldn't do it at all. But just say, for sake of argument, 24 hours. They can, if you're back in just pure intestines, meaning you're behind the paunch, then you might be talking about 36, 48 hours. Just depends. You have
They're fatal hits.
Yeah. Yeah,
they're probably dependent a lot on the type of broadhead you use,
100%.
too. Like if you're using a big mechanical head that's just ripping stuff up, it's probably going to double or cut in half the expiration time versus a fixed blade head.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, definitely the more trauma you can cause, the better. Faster they're going to expire. And, if it's at a little bit of an angle in your back there and you catch the back hip, they might expire a little faster just because you howled them from going very far and all those things. There's a lot of different intricacies.
Now, here's another one that's always hot debate is, when you've got one that's liver or guts and you have a farm that's got a lot of coyotes and it's a big deer, right? The old debate is, do I go in dark when you can't see anything, or do you wait till morning? I'm not going to have that debate with anybody because that's your call to make. But do you want to find them or do you not?
Right.
And more often than not, you got to be on the conservative side, even though the coyotes are probably a problem. But he's a problem anyway.
Right.
So are you just going to push him farther off your farm and risk that, or find him, a third eat and find him on your farm?
You're leaning the coyote gamble than you are it's not like
we always do because I'm always afraid of pushing off the property lines.
Right. Yeah, that's very fair.
Because
once you cross that property line, you lose all control. You have no control of your end situation.
Yep. Well, in a lot of states too, you can't cross that property line.
You can't.
And that's a thing that I don't think a lot of people...
In Illinois, I don't believe that you can, but I don't know for sure.
You have to have permission from the landowner to do it.
Iowa, you can pursue a blood trail right over property.
You can't have a weapon, though.
No weapon, and only the hunter.
Only the hunter.
No dog, no buddies.
Now with this new law...
Yeah, we'd have to look into that. That's an excellent question.
That's a great question.
I don't know about, because they passed now that you can track deer with a dog in Iowa. I don't know about that, but before, yes, if you're... animal that you shot and you have a blood trail, you can cross property lines without permission, without a weapon, and hunter only.
Hunter only. No buddy.
Nope.
No.
Nobody with a...
Nope.
But see, that goes back to, if I think most of us hunt with a buddy or a friend or relative or whatever, right? And when you get into these situations, if you can rely on somebody else to come help you, do that.
Oh, absolutely.
And what we do really well is when we're tracking, one is on the ground with eyeballs and one is looking up. Because more often than not, when you're looking down and you spook something, the guy looking at the ground can't catch fast enough what's looking.
Right.
So we always have at least one up and one down, and then we're scanning. So if we do see something, we know what's going on. It wasn't that deer.
Yeah.
And we always try to do it in daylight. Very rarely would we do it at night. Very rarely.
And that's the thing, too. Like, even if, I can pursue a deer on the neighbor's property, I'm still going to go ask permission.
Yeah.
That's a thing in me where I'm going to go at least ask them.
And if they're a beehole, you're going anyway.
Exactly. If I have to call the DNR, so get someone out there, I will. But, it's always in the back of my mind where I have to get permission from them.
You'd want somebody to do it if they were coming on your property.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just an etiquette.
It's a great etiquette, especially a neighbor.
Yeah.
Like you said in the last podcast. It's
a neighbor thing.
Good to be neighborly.
And there's nothing wrong with meeting the neighbor there.
No.
I've done that many times. Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay, let's go together.
Yeah, most times they're happy to help.
Yes.
They want to see the deer anyways.
Yeah.
And the one time I lost that one that I went and asked the neighbor, he's like, yeah, if you ever get a deer down, just go ahead, do your thing. Like, you don't have to come up here and ask me every time. Just do your thing, which is awesome, Got permission at all times, but...
Yeah, because then you know.
Right, now I know.
The stress level, if it happens again, you're like, all right, we're good. I can go over there.
And I don't have to knock on his door at
2 in the morning.
6 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
sure.
It's the blood trail thing. It's complicated, but it's kind of... It's fun in a way. It's fun if you can recover, but breaking them down is fun.
It is.
Have
you heard of the old school method of run them down to death?
I've never tried to do that. I'm not a fan of it myself because you're going to run into property lines, as I said earlier.
Yeah. Nowadays, it's like everything's bought, so you can't really do that.
Yeah.
Because in Wisconsin, you can't cross property lines, right?
No.
At all, without permission?
Without permission. Nope.
Yeah.
The track stops at the fence.
I know what your thought is going to be on that, but break it down.
Oh, just the track stopping at the fence?
The run them down thing.
Oh, so different states, different laws. Texas, those guys, Georgia, some places in there that run packs of dogs on deer, that's a way of deer hunting for them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think that has some merit. So if you are dealing with a front
but let's
third,
stop there. Down in Texas and down in Georgia, their plantations are big.
They are.
Huge
they have
tracks.
huge tracks.
Huge tracks.
Not 40s and 80s.
Yeah. Right.
There's a different mindset here.
They're 40,000 and 80,000.
Oh, they're just massive.
Yeah, deer's off 80 acres in 3 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so there it has some merit. Plus, the dog can run off lead. If your dog is running on a leash, which is the rule in Iowa, it's the rule in Wisconsin and most Midwestern states, and you're going to look at me in the eye and tell me you're going to run a deer down with that dog on a leash, well,
You have
You better be running quick, boy.
Yeah, and a marathon runner, it's just not very feasible to me.
So what you're saying is that dog has to be on leash at all times.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they can't be off leash.
What is it, 50? What is it, 40 feet, 50 feet?
I don't know. I run a 40, 50 foot check lead. I can't remember what it is. There's no, it's somewhere in there, like a 50 foot check lead for running the dog. But I think it's a great way to track. It makes it tracking and not hunting deer with dogs, which is that's why deer tracking with dogs gets such a bad rap. Everyone's scared. Well, they're going to be hunting them with dogs. They're running them with dogs.
Yeah, that's like the most negative.
Yeah.
Well, if that was the case, you could just pull up on the side of the road, let your dog out, and once he starts howling, you know where the deer is.
Exactly, and that's
no
just not the law.
In that at all.
Right.
My first experience was not with Kasey. It was with Tracker John. And we started going, and he goes, we're on the wrong track. I mean, he could tell by the demeanor of the dog that we were not on the deer.
Interesting.
That's fascinating, crazy. Right? And he goes, we got to go back. He goes, get me back to where you hit him. So we went back. We went down a different trail. Long story short, we found him. And that bloodhound was crazy aggressive. And John grabbed me. He said, do not go close to him. That is his deer right now until he calms down. If not, he will bite you.
No shit.
No shit. And he was crazy aggressive to the point that he leashed him and tied him around a tree. And I got close to that deer, and he was lunging at me.
Yeah.
Because it was his prize.
That was his prize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he lets him have his moment, lets him chew on him. They usually go on the back third of them.
Yeah,
and for whatever reason, they just chaw on them. I don't know why, but they do.
They're not eating them. They just get their fix.
Yeah, it's crazy. They just start chewing on them.
Like
and
a coyote,
he looked at me and goes, just let him have his moment. And we sat there for 5 or 6 minutes.
And you can have your moment.
Yeah. Yes. And he goes, that's his reward. Just give him time. So
interesting.
So another thing is when you're behind a tracking dog and the handler, make sure you give them space and never get in front of the dog or the handler.
Right.
You never want to communicate. You just follow and
watch,
keep your mouth
watch the
shut
process
and and take it all in, because all you're doing is defeating the purpose.
Right.
And some of these guys are alpha dogs. Well, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's over here. Let me tell you, the dog knows what he's doing.
Right.
Just eat your ego, sit back, and let it happen.
And that's the thing where you were saying earlier, like sit back, watch that dog work, because that'll be a way better experience.
Way better.
Well, here, let me do this, and you can tell me once again to kick rocks. But any guy that listens to this that's at a bar, local bar, oh yeah, listen to the podcast. If you want to get a tracking dog, this is what it's going to cost you.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, so
because that had to come up.
It's different in different areas for sure, and different trackers they're able to charge whatever they want. Mm-hmm. When I first did it, I know I charge $500 to track the deer, and I charge an extra $250 if I found that deer. I think now changing it moving forward, it'll be pretty much $1,000 just cut rate. That's all it's going to cost.
Straight up.
Yeah, and there might be some mileage in there depending on, but I don't plan on going that far now. So, but usually that's what you're going to get. You're going to be somewhere between $250 to $500, and then they're probably going to want some gas money or something like that to figure it out. If they're coming a long distance, they live down the road, they're not going to ding you for that. But
I was going to ask you, out of your 88 tracks, how far would you go out, since you got you're filming and everything,
like your
hunting,
radius?
you're still hunting and stuff too.
Yeah, when I did that, I didn't do a whole lot of hunting when I did that 88 track year.
Because you're up late and stuff like that. And
I tracked all the way from southeast Ohio to southern Illinois, back into Minnesota, and then all around Wisconsin. Man. It was mostly Wisconsin.
Holy shit.
So if we shoot a big one, you going to come down and help us? That's the question.
How big is he?
How far are you going?
How big is
180.
Depends on how big a deer Greg and I are on it.
Good answer.
You can say 150 in case he click.
It's 200 inches. He shows up as a 130-inch deer.
No, one of these days I'm going to.
There'd be a serious can of whoop ass coming out of that truck right there.
Right? He just sticks a dog on you.
I think that's one thing about tracking deer that's awesome, is there is no trophy for tracking deer. You're trying to find the deer.
The trophy is finding the deer.
Exactly. Yeah. I can tell you one thing, that dog doesn't give a shit how big it is.
No, they cared enough to call you. So
yeah.
Go ahead, Austin.
I hate to say it, but somebody in this room in the next 2 or 3 or 4 seasons, we're going to put a bad hit on one, and we're going to be like, remember Kasey? We need to call that guy. So are you going to come down this far for us?
Yeah, if I'm open, I will.
Okay.
Sure.
You got a place to stay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's
beer.
Yeah, you can podcast about it, tell how bad of a hit it was. How trash we are.
You know what we should do is when things are really slow, like that mid-October low, is come over here on somebody's farm and whack some does. And then we'll bring the dog.
Yeah.
and you guys will see it firsthand.
I would love that.
I got
to see what this thing, because it's mind blowing. Honestly, it's the best
That'd
show.
Be awesome.
Yeah, let's go to Lord Chandler's and shoot a doe.
I've got a new farm that needs some doe management done. So
Doug's got like 400 does on.
Let's just plan out. We'll just do a podcast.
This is central ground, really, from his place to your place.
Well, we could go out and do a doe mission. Throw out the dog, do a podcast, and watch you, and let you guys have another conversation from the outside looking in.
That'd be awesome.
I'd like to see the dog work. That'd be awesome.
We could do some filming, some podcasting. The doe bitchin' mission is what we'll call it.
The doe bitchin' mission.
I like that.
It's a tongue twister.
I got it.
I think like Tracker John is. I think he's like $1,000 to $1,500. I can't remember exactly what it is.
Last time he charged me was $1,200, but it took him 4.5, 5 hours to get there.
Is he kind of like the staple in deer tracking right now?
He's the
he has
icon.
been, right?
Yeah,
he's the guy.
I think anyone that kind of knows about dog tracking or dog tracking with whatever.
Yeah, I know Tracker. I've heard of him.
Everyone knows Tracker John.
Fakara,
they
Five
use them all the
Seasons
time.
use them all the time. Is there like something that people should look out for as far as like phonies in the tracking game?
I'm sure there are. I mean, it's getting so big. One thing that I know for sure is that you were talking about earlier, like what would you tell a guy that wanted to get a dog and get a tracking dog going? It's a double-edged sword, right? Because it's fun to get a dog and have a dog as a companion and get it going, but if you don't get the dog on enough tracks, it's never going to be as good as you want it to be.
Right.
And at the end of the day, we talk about this all the time. Man, it'd just be a heck of a lot cheaper to hire someone who does this all the time and tracks all the time than it is to buy your own dog and pay for the food and the vet bills and all that stuff.
Yep.
Right.
And then try to train it to track deer. So if you want the dog, get the dog. Hey, you're going to love the dog. I love dogs. Exactly. But if you're buying it to track deer, you better plan on putting it on some tracks. Otherwise, the first person that calls you or the time you want to use it for yourself, you're going to be like,
the hell's he
out here spinning my wheels. Why am I doing this? So I think anyone that advertises the fact that they do it for the most part is probably good-hearted, and they probably work on it, because it takes, I know United Blood Trackers is a website out there that is a kind of a community that offers blood tracking dogs, and they have different addresses listed and contact information. And it costs money to be a member of that. So,
and also you have to be qualified, right? To be a tracking dog on that
Not
website?
to be on the website, you have to be qualified, but most of them are.
Okay.
So kind of like a Pope and Young measure, like you got to be qualified to measure.
They go through tests, right?
Yeah. There's United Blood Trackers tests, and they have UBT 1, 2, and Tier 3, I believe they have now. And so a lot of the dogs on there have been tested and proven, and then they're on the site. Not everyone, though. All you have to do is pay your $25 membership fee, and your contact's up there.
Gotcha.
But I mean, it's something. It's some skin in the game to make sure that you're going above and beyond to kind of advertise yourself.
Because I do still, I'd say every year, maybe twice a year. It's probably 2 times a year. I get people, and no harm, or it's not offensive, but I get the offer, hey, if you shoot a doe,
sure,
I got a dog, I just want to get it going. And I'm kind of always like, nah, I don't want your dog out there.
Yeah.
To be honest. Like, I'm not trying to be a D-hole, but
yeah, I don't know you. And
I don't blame you for that.
But fuck your dog, you know what I mean? No,
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
We had, was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago when I shot that one, and you called that your buddy?
Oh yeah, to practice. Yep.
And you said, hey, should we let this guy practice it? I don't care. And
it was so that was late in the year, so we were done. Which is nice.
Yeah.
See, I'm down to get one when I need it, but I don't want you practicing.
Yeah.
And that might be like a negative.
No, I wouldn't run the dog through our stuff either.
No, but we were
could
done.
help it.
So I was like, you know what? Let's help this guy out. And he was trying to get his dog.
See, that's cool. A lot of my properties, I don't really have that opportunity to let another person on.
Yeah.
But if it was like a 170 plus type buck for me as a super giant, I'd be like, well,
we're gonna bring it on.
Yeah, we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, I would. That's a good thing. Like to start right now. The season's coming up. Hop online, get on Facebook, or look up some of these tracking guys that are out there. Get on United Blood Trackers and try to find someone in your community and give them a shout. Talk to them for a little while.
See what they're like.
Ask them a couple questions like, what's your protocol? What do you want me to do if I hit one? You'll figure out pretty quick.
What's
if they
your
know
cost?
What they're
How
talking
far
about.
will you go?
Yeah.
Will you even come see me?
And
Is
that's
it
the
60
thing.
miles, 80 miles? I don't
even know if there's any local people around here that do it.
I don't really know.
I have no idea.
Well, I can imagine with Iowa opening up, there's going to be a lot of guys popping up.
I'm sure there is, yeah.
And everybody's in the same timeline, so they're all going to be new.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I know we deep dove in certain spots, but is there anything like really like critical or important that we missed?
I had a question. Does
Doug,
like rain?
Doug,
does rain or snow like hinder?
That's a great question.
That's good.
Yes and no. So here's one thing to understand about moisture. High moisture content is a lot easier to track on because your scent doesn't go very far. It's not dispersed.
Okay.
Dry and windy is blowing scent everywhere. High moisture, high humidity keeps the scent in one spot. It's the same reason why, like, literally when you're going to hang a tree stand, you want to do it like after a rain or during a rain. It's not because the rain washes your scent away. Believe me, it does not. But at least your scent didn't blow into that 80.
Right.
It just stayed exactly where it is. It's all right there. So it's the same thing with the dog. They run such clean lines when the humidity's high and it's rained. Now, I'm not talking about a freaking hurricane. If you get an utter washout, that can be bad for the scent line. Snow, yes and no. If it snows after on the track a substantial amount by, 8, 12 inches, you're going to have some problems finding the track.
Will your dog even be able to get through 12 inches?
Yeah, we'll find out.
You have a lift kit on that.
She's
thing.
meaner than she looks.
Some stilts.
A lift kit.
You're just like picking her up as you go.
Yeah.
You're just holding her above it, the snow.
Exactly. But I mean, other than that, I've had 3-4 inches of snow on a track and found it easy. The one thing that you need to understand about a deer track is that the further you get into the track, the hotter the line is.
Right.
Because the less old it is,
the fresher it is.
Yes. Yeah. So,
man, that's backwards thinking, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So once you get past that initial spot, let's say it snowed 3 inches on the first 200 yards, but then it let up and kind of got better. If you can get into it a ways, you usually will find yourself working out of it.
Okay.
Same with rain. Same with everything.
Makes a ton of sense.
It's crazy.
I would think, this trail's going. It's been
it rained.
time.
We're screwed.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, people always think that like you're like a mile in on a track with a dog, and they're like, "We are screwed. This is pointless." Deer,
deer. Yeah,
it's just the further they go, the hotter it is for them. Like I'm getting closer.
Mm-hmm. But for us, it's the opposite.
Yeah, you're like ready to give up.
You get the mental. Your brain's kind of screwing you on your motivation on wanting to keep looking, and you're not looking as hard when the further it goes down. Like you said, you're kind of like, man, this isn't good, and then I think you start like mentally checking out on it. Maybe.
Now, is there a point where like you're that mile in and like where that dog's like kind of losing it, or he's like telling you?
Yeah. Well,
like,
at what point you're just like, hey, it's it's not going to work out.
So as a person, if you're going to track deer for somebody that hires you, my philosophy behind doing it is I used to do it till they would quit.
Okay.
So I would track till they're like, dude, I'm shot.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, okay. But also there's reading the dog. Like if the dog looks squirrely, usually when they lock on, they have a look to them, just like Greg was talking before. You're reading the dog. If the dog looks good, you're following the dog as far as it will go. If the dog looks weird, you got to do something different. Either you got to circle back and hit last blood, or make a different move in the track or something like that. But that that's what you're basically basing it off of. The dog's going to tell you when to quit or when to keep going. But I would just usually circle around in there and look until the guy's like, dude, this is ridiculous, I'm done.
Okay.
Sometimes the dog will look at you like, hey, dumbass, he's still alive.
Yeah.
The dog's like, nah.
Yeah.
Call out.
Like barks at you like, you idiot.
Yeah. Like if they could talk first, if still alive.
Yeah.
We're out.
It just runs back to the truck.
Peace. I'm out.
So your point on the most important, like something important, I would say there's a shelf life too. So if it's cold, like 4 to 8 hours used to be my cutoff. And I'm not taking a track that's over 48 hours old. If it's 85 out, I might take one that's a little older than 48 hours, just depending. So,
gotcha.
Because if you start to smell that deer after 48 hours, the dog's going to smell it.
So there's a shelf life to the trail.
Yeah. So, that's why I encourage people to find a guy that they know that can track and just call them right away. If you're confused, you don't understand, just like we are, we're like, I shoot a deer and turn to Greg and go, what do you think? Did I hit him? What happened? Have someone in your pocket that you can dial up and ask.
Yeah. Another thing that can
get
do,
old Frankie out there.
We always talk about making deposits right at home for the kitchen pass to hit the woods.
Kitchen pass, that's funny.
We work with that local guy because Kasey didn't. We were dogless for a couple 3 years, and so when we called this guy, he goes, "Hey, I just want to track." I'm like, let's let him track because if we ever need him, we're going to go to the top of the list.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Because we helped him. So
you gave him, right.
That's right. So if you guys are out looking for him, you find a guy you like, and you say, hey, if you ever want to come track my does, I'll be happy to let you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just put me on the list that when I really need you, I go to the top. And he'll go, heck yeah, because nobody else is going to help him.
Yeah.
Right.
See, there I am at the bottom of the list.
You're at the
I was
bottom
like,
of the
I don't
list.
want your dog out here.
That's right.
You're on that guy's shit list.
You're on the shit list.
But
No,
to be
but I'm
fair-
serious. It will pay off dividends.
But to be fair, I'm the guy who doesn't like. It's like, hey, just you out here, nobody else. You know what I mean? So it's like
That's fine.
It's a desperate situation in most cases, not always.
That's
but
fine.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and that's like, if you are going to sneak in there and take a look on your own, make it just you.
right.
Don't make it you
That's
and
right.
dog.
18 guys.
5 of your drunk buddies. And,
Yeah,
Yeah, going out
That
there.
is-
Hey, call
yeah.
Kasey. We're all here. Call Kasey.
The biggest thing that gets you in trouble is having a tracking party. It's horrible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
It shouldn't exist, really.
You got
And that's the first thing you
quadruple
do
the
is you call
scent,
everybody.
quadruple the sound, all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Quadruple
that's
the idiots.
That's one thing that ends up messing people up, and the other thing is just what you said: leave the woods, go home, have 15 beers, and then be like, oh, "We can get him.
And then make piss poor decisions.
We
Yeah.
got him
just
if we just go now."
Just have 25 beers and wake up in the morning and go get him.
Yeah.
It's 2 a.m. I could go now, or I could
Well,
just
yeah.
wait till 7 a.m.
If I
Yes.
have 15 beers, I'm waiting till 10 a.m. the next morning. I'm just so hungover.
Daybreak is always better than 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
smart.
track in the daylight.
Ton of information, man. It's what's interesting
And
about it.
another thing, before I forget, is we've talked about this a lot, which is tracking deer in clouded versus solid sunny days is way better to see the blood than not. And the first 2 hours and the last 2 hours.
In overcast days, it's
Yeah,
better. to
way
see the
better.
blood.
Way better. Yes. Way better.
It's better for looking for sheds and like anglers
is.
in general too.
Everything.
Overcast. I'm writing that down. Overcast days are better.
Taking notes.
No, I mean, I love this type of conversation because it's so multi-layered and situational.
Yeah.
And what's good about it is it's fun.
It
Because
is.
you can throw so many scenarios.
Yeah.
What's bad about it is nothing's the final rule.
No.
No.
What's your worst story?
I was just say, what's your favorite story?
What's your favorite and worst?
I have a great one that can never be only the person, if they listen to your podcast, will know who they are.
Just don't name names.
Don't name
Well,
names.
just tell it and they won't hear it.
So we tracked a deer for an extremely long period of time, and I was to the point where I was about to give up on the track. And I could see a road sign, and I could hear cars kind of going by. And so I basically just picked the dog up and was kind of like just put him on a short leash and was carrying him out to the road. And we got in the ditch, and the dog's ears and nose went up, and he kind of like went. And I was like, man, this kind of looks odd. So I put his leash back on him, and the deer was laying on the center line of a pretty serious highway,
No way.
wounded bad. And so I kind of sat there and I was like, what do I do with this? The deer is here. It wasn't moving. The dog was baying at it and barking at it, and it wasn't moving. And I literally walked the dog back down in the ditch, and I was going to wait for the hunter to come up, because what you are supposed to do is put the dog away so you're no longer tracking, and then you need to contact the DNR, and then you can go and dispatch the animal with permission. But otherwise, you can't fire a weapon off at night. You can't shoot your bow or gun at night. Nothing.
Especially on a road.
Yeah, on a road or whatever. So literally, the deer is sitting there. I'm sitting with the dog. The hunter's on his way out. I'm like, I found him. He's up here. And literally a freaking Ford F-150 comes by and smashes that thing.
You gotta watch it live.
Antlers off, smashed everything right there on the
No
road.
way.
Holy smokes.
Yep. It'll be 500. Big one. See you later there, bud.
That's a heartbreaker.
Good luck.
That's the worst story.
I wish I had a cha-ching button.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yes, that does suck.
Did you have to break it to him?
Oh,
When he showed up?
Oh, he was out. He was literally walking out of the woods. When it happened.
So he saw it all.
Oh yeah, he watched it.
Not
even
that
worse.
it matters, but how big was the buck?
I didn't get to see it with his antlers on. Yeah, it's like low 60s buck,
A
biggest
nice
buck.
Nice buck.
That's a heartbreaker.
That is a heartbreaker.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, it was scary because honestly, the guy almost got in a big time accident. Because he hit the deer and was and then he stopped and we were standing there and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" The driver.
Yeah, right.
It's like, you just scared this deer right to me.
Yeah,
Was that-
Well,
was
that's
that-
what he thought we did.
Just shattered the rack.
Yeah.
Was that your worst story or your favorite story?
That's probably my worst one, I think. I don't know.
If it gets worse than that, I don't know if I want to hear it.
My favorite story is any time the dog got a hold of the deer when it was still alive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was brutal. And he was big enough to handle it, which was nice, and it was kind of fun to watch,
Right. See him get some action.
Yeah.
Man, I can't even imagine.
I can't either. I think we do that. We get these guys down here, shoot some does, and I want to see this.
That's Western.
Frankie might get one by the hoof or whatever, by the ear.
Throw Frankie up there, get him on the
just gets flung.
Dude, Frankie gets a hold of a good jugler, I'm sure, take it down.
No, Frankie gets one hair.
Look like Bodacious out there kicking.
Yeah. Oh, dang.
Breaking deer skulls left and right.
Yeah.
Cracking skulls.
Frankie's just riding Bodacious out there.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, cool, man. Thank you for all the knowledge and insight. I can't imagine some of the things you've seen. It'd be a whole podcast series in itself.
Just story. He could do stories all night long, I bet.
We just do our whole series dedicated to tracking.
It's a fun thing. It's enjoyable because you get to go with someone else and experience recovering the deer, which is like, when you call your buddies to go. So it's fun. You get to do it all the time, which is enjoyable part of hunting.
Way more positives and excitement and reward, good feeling, good vibes than it is the other way.
Yeah. And 90% of the people are, if you don't find them, they thank you for giving it your best effort and coming out and helping them, trying. So,
there's nothing nothing better when you're with your buddies and they recover a deer.
Right.
That's probably the best moment.
You're on top of the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it.
Thanks.
You want to close out with anything? Where can people find you guys?
You can find us on Facebook. It would be Bloodhound Deer Trackers or our United Blood Trackers. I believe we're still involved with that. We got a membership there, so that'd be a good spot.
Awesome, man. And you want to throw your phone number out there for the people to call you if they
867-5309.
Nice.
I saw the smile as soon as I mentioned phone number.
I think I've seen that in a bathroom stall one time.
Yeah.
You called it.
Call for a good time.
Kasey there?
My town's local area code's 867. So that song's always funny to me.
Oh, really?
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
No, it's 715-340-7333, and Bloodhound Deer Trackers on Facebook is another easy way to get a hold of it.
Awesome.
Cool, man. Appreciate you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
the knowledge. Greg, you got anything to close out with?
No, man. Just thanks for having us down. This is fun.
I'm glad you guys came down. It was cool to get you guys in the studio. They always seem a little better. They always record better.
100%.
And just good to see good friends, man.
Yeah. And
we're not
sitting in sofas where people fall asleep. So now I understand why.
How'd I know you get their one last dig in there?
I tell you what, it's far from over, Doug. It's far from over.
Doug,
you're never going to let this down.
Never.
Nah.
Never.
That's fine. Everything's fine.
You guys got this
love.
special bond. It's kind
It's all in love.
It's
Doug.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I was your first.
It brings us closer, really.
I was your first.
I was your first.
That's why you
First you fell asleep
so
on.
weird.
Literally tried to sleep with Greg.
Yeah, he literally did.
The first he fell asleep on, I doubt
He didn't try. He did it.
He did it.
You're the first one Doug's ever slept with on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful. It's great to see you guys together, actually. That's why I put you next to each other, and it's real heartwarming, actually. It is.
He's rubbed my leg a couple times tonight.
I was worried about that, and I was going to pre-warn you, but
hopefully it's not on video.
The new table's wider, so there's more of an overhang, so I can't see that, so not my problem. You know what I mean? That's Eric's problem. He built the table. So, what's up?
Dang it.
Well, let's do this dough machine. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out this fall.
Right. I don't know what I called it earlier. The dough machine. We'll do it. All right, I'm going to close her out. You know what to do. Go shoot your bow. We love you.